Thanks for joining us on Penn State Sports Night. I'm Ellie French.
And I'm Dylan Huberman. It was an exciting weekend for Penn State athletics. Men's hockey took down Wisconsin in double overtime, and we are Big Ten champs. Freshman Liam Folks scored both goals, one in the first period and the other in the second overtime. Peyton Jones stopped 51 of 52 shots from the Badgers en route to the Penn State's first Big Ten title. The Nittany Lions will play Union Saturday in their first NCAA tournament appearance. Penn State now leads the Big Ten in conference titles across all sports with 6 this year.
Penn State wrestling claimed its 6th national title in 7 years this past weekend. Of 8 Nittany Lions who competed, 5 returned to Happy Valley as national champions. Junior Zane Rutherford was named the 2017 NCAA Champions Outstanding Wrestler after claiming his 2nd straight NCAA title. Vincenzo Joseph met with 2-time NCAA champion Isaiah Martinez for a 3rd time this season. Joseph was 0-2 against Martinez prior to the tournament, but managed to pin Martinez, sealing the victory. We'll send it over to Christian Koropakis and Tommy Butler talking about the World Baseball Classic.
Welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Christian Koropakis alongside Tommy Butler, breaking down the World Baseball Classic. On Saturday, the United States defeated the Dominican Republic by a score of 4-3, thanks to a bomb by Giancarlo Stanton and an epic catch by Adam Jones. They'll move on to the semifinals and face Team Japan. But before we get to the semifinals, Tommy, what's your take on the United States win against the Dominican Republic?
Well, we had both said last week when we talked about the World Baseball Classic that we both predicted that the Dominican Republic were going to win. And I don't know, I was lost for words when I noticed that that win brought or kept the Dominican Republic out of the semifinals, and that Puerto Rico did not surprise me by going 3-0, but the fact that the United States could beat the Dominican Republic when they really needed to in that final game, and with such a impressive show, we were certainly incorrect there.
Yeah, and something I didn't expect out of the World Baseball Classic at all was a postseason-like atmosphere. The catch by Adam Jones, the moonshot by Giancarlo Stanton, and just the overall atmosphere of the United States beating the Dominican Republic had that, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it, the Game 7 feel. The elimination game, must win, everything just seemed right. And I know we wanted to bring this up, but Adam Jones' catch, holy cow. First of all, when the ball came off of Machado's bat, I thought it was 10 rows deep. But then you saw Adam Jones come out of nowhere, time the jump perfectly and snag that. What was going through your mind when you saw that play develop?
Well, it's one of those plays, you said you thought it was going to be 10 rows deep. I was watching to see what fan would catch it. And then all of a sudden, there comes Jones leaping up. He stays in the air for much longer than I was expecting, comes down with it. And Machado with the tip of the helmet, exactly what I would have done in his position. That was an incredible catch. Ended up saving the game. The next play was a home run that would have tied the game, and the U.S. could have easily lost after that. So game-saving play there. We mentioned the Giancarlo Stanton home run, and yeah, yeah.
And last week, we talked about what we said last week. When people, and when I say we, I mean me, I mentioned how the United States didn't buy into this. We like to talk about the players that don't come, like Mike Trout, Clayton Kershaw, Madison Bumgarner. But the United States has a pretty solid squad that's pretty stacked. I completely undersold the star power they do have. I should have seen that they were going to be able to make this run, but no one predicted it against a team like the Dominican Republic. And the passion now is being represented in a different way. You see the Puerto Ricans, what are they, bleaching their hair? The Dominican Republics are mobbing the field in the 7th inning. They have that fire. The United States has some of that quiet confidence that's really doing them well so far, and it's kind of thrown them into the semifinals. Now, just mentioned the semifinals. Face a tough team, Japan.
Japan, though they've won, 2 of the last 3 World Baseball championships. Some people have been saying that they've had a pretty easy run to the semis, and they'd be right. Mm-hmm. In the second round, they had to play against Israel and Cuba, who Cuba has not played well. They went 0-3 in the second round. Netherlands, they had a 21 run difference, which is ludicrous. There's not much, with 2 teams that could make it, those were the two teams. That was known by the seeding before round 2 even started. And the United States, a surprise, making it into the semis, as we had said earlier. I do believe that Japan is not as strong in their pitching as they have been in past years, and I feel like that's going to be their downfall. I feel like if the United States can beat the Dominican Republic, they can take on Japan and make it to the finals for the first time.
It'll certainly be their toughest matchup so far, in my opinion. Tanner Roark is getting the start for Team USA. He said it's the most important game of his career. Just goes to show you how that vibe changed from depressing to now it's postseason time, the most important game of the year. So we talked about Team USA, we talked about Team Japan. Let's get to the game that's happening Monday night, which is the Netherlands versus Puerto Rico. I think everyone's sleeping on the Netherlands, but give me your take. What do you think about this matchup?
Well, I think it's sort of, as I had said with the run difference for the Netherlands, both of these teams are really offensive-minded. With the Netherlands, they have Vladimir Valentin, and he's just gone off. He hasn't played in the MLB since 2009, and he's hit 3 home runs. He's scored most of their runs, and along with him, they have Xander Bogaerts and so many other, most of the middle infielders, but they were able to move them around and get everybody into the lineup. Their offense is off the charts. Then again, with Puerto Rico, they've scored 51, or they've outscored their opponents 51-15 in the World Baseball Classic here. It's going to be whichever pitcher gives up first, whichever team gets the most runs early and can close out the game on Monday.
Yeah, that
Tuesday.
lineup is explosive. Like I said, I think people are really sleeping on them. Vladimir Valentin in that lineup, Jonathan Scope, Xander Bogaerts, Jackson Profar, Jolton Simmons. They lost Didi Gregorius, but this lineup is stacked from top to bottom. So just let's give our predictions. Who do you think's winning the Netherlands versus Puerto Rico game?
I think it's going to be Puerto Rico. They're undefeated so far. They've shown that they can handle anything. But Puerto Rico, they have a chance, but I don't think that they're going to be able to continue the run that they've succeeded in so far. Or the Netherlands, won't be able to continue the run that they've seen so far, especially with Puerto Rico's only giving up 8 runs in the second round.
Yeah, I like the Netherlands in this game. I've been on the Netherlands bandwagon all tournament, and it just seems when the game is going to be a scrappy 1-0, 2-1, 3-2 game, the Netherlands explodes and puts up 10 runs, 8 runs. So I'm going the Netherlands by a close but high-scoring matchup. The United States-Japan game. What do you got?
I have the United States. I said I don't think Japan has the pitching staff to hold out against a U.S. team that has shown can put some pop in the bat, can get the runs on the board when necessary. And with Chris Archer now not on the United States squad, they have Mark Melancon, who's an incredible closer, and he can keep this Japan team down, especially when they have the 25-year-old slugger Yoshimoto Tsutsugo, who's hit 3 home runs already. I think he can keep that bat from lighting up.
Yeah, I like the United States too. I like how they were able to shorten the game. Although Chris Archer's not going to come, I like Melancon being added into the mix. And I like their scrappy play. They're a team that really doesn't die. They lost to Team Puerto Rico, but they scored 3 runs in the 9th inning to bring it close, and they had the tying run at 3rd. So I like Team USA. I like the quiet confidence, like I said, going into this matchup against Team Japan. I just think it's their year. And I think the vibe switching from depressing to excitement now kind of will drive them to the championship game. That'll do it for this edition of Penn State Sports Night. I'm Christian Kirkpatrick, Tommy Butler. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Jack Hirsch alongside Dylan Huberman, and it's the second weekend of the March Madness tournament in the NCAA Championship. Dylan, we just saw the first 2 rounds, the round of 64 and the round of 32. What did you see from the first round? We can talk about that briefly.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, Florida State, I did not think they were going to come out of that first game on top, and they did. I'll give them credit. Same thing with Baylor. These are 2 teams that a lot of the time go down in the first round. This year, stuff went differently.
Yeah, and I think it was kind of shocking in the first round that we really didn't see a lot of upsets. Granted, we saw a lot of really good games and a lot of really close games, so I thought it was really exciting for a lot of the time. Granted, there was a lot of stuff on Twitter where a lot of people hated this tournament because there was only 6 upsets in the first round, so a lot of people were really disappointed about that.
SMU was a fun one. Watching them go down, that was
and the biggest seeding upset was Middle Tennessee over Minnesota, and I don't even think that Middle Tennessee should have been a 12 seed, and I think Minnesota wasn't exactly the best 5 seed.
No,
so
the committee messed up big time on that one.
Yeah, and I think certainly there were some other upsets there. The biggest upset of the first round was clearly Xavier over Maryland, and now we're looking at Xavier in the round of in the Sweet 16 here after they won the round of 32
all of a
game.
sudden Xavier is in the Sweet 16. Now you got a team like South Carolina also in the Sweet 16. These are teams that we did not think would get to this point, and somehow they pull it off. It's madness. What can you say?
Yeah, everyone was asking for all these upsets during the round of 64, and then we get them in the second round, in the round of 32. We have Nova go out. They lose to a really strong Wisconsin team out of what's looking like a Big Ten conference that wasn't necessarily as bad as people think.
No, they came back. Purdue's still in this tournament, as well as Wisconsin, and I don't think it can count them out just yet. There is plenty of time left. I've seen bigger upsets happen. VCU can make it to a Final Four. Those two guys can. So
yeah, certainly the only 2 teams to disappoint out of the Big Ten were Maryland and Minnesota losing in the first round. But then let's talk about the 2 big upsets. So we had number 1 overall seed Villanova losing.
Yes.
And then we also had the number 2 seed in that same bracket, Duke lost. Nova seemed like they were almost unstoppable. They beat St. Mary's by 20 points. They had that amazing win in the second round, or in the semifinals of the Big East tournament over a really good Seton Hall team who made the tournament. So, the wheels just kind of, it all ended against Wisconsin.
Yeah, we saw this a couple years ago. Kentucky went undefeated and they didn't get to the championship. It can happen. It's madness. That's why they call it madness.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, and certainly Villanova is one of those teams where they haven't made it out of the round of 32 in any year except last year, since 2010, and they won the championship last year, obviously.
Year. They got there this year now.
Yeah. And then Duke, we obviously thought, a lot of people were saying Duke was one of the better teams in this tournament.
Listen, I believe in Coach K. I picked them in my bracket, and they busted my bracket, so I'm not upset with Coach K. No, I should change that. I am upset with Coach K. But, hey, it's madness. That's the 3rd time I've said that so far. You know why? Because it's madness. That's what happens. Stuff doesn't go the way you plan it to. A lot of people will be millionaires.
Let's look ahead to these regionals here in the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 coming up this weekend. What are some of the games you got your eye on watching?
I like Kansas. Kansas-Purdue. That's just a great game. I definitely want to see that. It's definitely the best game to me. I just think that a Big Ten team that's been trending along the whole year against the team that is now the best remaining seed in the tournament, Kansas with the number 1. I thought they should have been the number 1 in the first place over Villanova, since they were the number 1 seed in the AP poll, which apparently means nothing in this regard. But, they're still there. They're still going on. Rock, chalk, Jayhawk.
Yeah, for me, I like the UCLA-Kentucky matchup. Obviously, UCLA's been in the news for some of the wrong reasons with
LeVar Ball.
LeVar Ball making all these comments about his 3 sons. Obviously, we know about that. But UCLA is a really good team, and Lonzo Ball. No one is going to mistake Lonzo Ball for a possible number 1 overall pick this coming NBA draft. And Kentucky is always, like you said, they went undefeated that one year, lost in the Final Four.
Right.
But they are always a team, any team coached by John Calipari has a chance.
The freshman whisperer, he can do it again.
Yeah, so let's go through. What's your Final Four with these 16 teams remaining?
Kansas is going to beat Purdue. Let's start with that.
Okay.
Then, in the bottom right, UCLA, Lonzo Ball, coming out. On the left, we got Zona. And then, one surprise, Florida Gators, baby! They're still alive, still chomping ahead. Villanova, the number 1 seed, is gone. Duke, the number 2 seed, gone. It is wide open. I think they can do it.
Yeah, I agree with you on 3 of those 4 picks. I think Florida will make it out of the East, granted, because they don't have to face Duke. And I actually thought Baylor, the highest remaining seed in that bracket, I actually thought they were going to lose in the first round of New Mexico State. So I was a little surprised that they ended up beating a USC team that they didn't get to, and they also didn't get to face that number 6 seed SMU.
Right. That's true.
So I think Florida will make it out of that bracket. Out of the West, yeah, I agree with you. I think Zona should have gotten that number 1 seed in the South over UNC. I thought UNC wasn't really that good. They obviously didn't win their conference tournament. I thought Arizona was a really strong team coming out of the Pac-12. Out of the South, again, I agree with you. UCLA is really good. They're led by Lonzo Ball.
Let's not forget about Bryce Alford.
Absolutely, no.
Dude, don't leave that shooter out.
No, for sure. And then out of the Midwest, I think Kansas is going to beat Purdue, but they're going to get upset in the Elite Eight by number 7 seed Michigan. I think this team has. Now I was at the Big Ten tournament.
You realize
in
we are
DC.
at Penn State and you're picking Michigan, right? That's
Yeah,
a federal crime.
I know.
Okay,
I know.
Just so you know.
But let's look at the facts here. That Michigan is a totally different team since that plane crash. If you don't know already, Michigan was involved in a plane crash on their way to the Big Ten tournament. They won their first game against Illinois, playing in their practice jerseys, and then they went on a run, upset Purdue, and which they could very well do again. If
And they took down Louisville.
They've already beaten Louisville in this tournament.
That's a big one.
And they went on to win the Big Ten tournament. I think they're going to keep that momentum up, and they could make a big run in the Final Four, and then anything's possible from there.
Hey, said it for a 4th time. It's madness. Anything's possible.
Well, that's all we have for tonight. I'm Jack Hirsch alongside Dylan Huberman. Thanks for watching tonight, and have a good evening.